And welcome back, folks. And today we are opening another figure from the Batman The Adventures Continue toy line. Finally said it right. Specifically, we're opening the Super Armor Batman. As you probably know, and if you don't, you may have heard in my last video, this line, the Batman The Adventures Continue, is basically based off like a comic book, it's a comic book which continues the continuity of Batman the Animated Series, which was the cartoon that came out in the early 90s in the aftermath of the Tim Burton Batman movies. So the toys all have that sort of Bruce Timm style design to them. And the last one we opened was the character of Azrael in the costume that he wore in the comic books when he was Batman. And today we're opening this, what they call Super Armor Batman, which to me, right off the bat, seems to be inspired by Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. This is the movie. I have the comic book somewhere else at work. But anyway, let's get this open. Wow, he's big. Okay, we have a little loose accessory here. Fist. These green knuckles, I wonder if these are meant to be kryptonite. I haven't read the comic. Obviously there's no cartoon. But I wonder if these are kryptonite because since this seems to be really inspired by Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, which climaxes with a battle between Batman and Superman, wherein Batman wears an armor very similar to this one, and he uses kryptonite against Superman. Although he doesn't have kryptonite knuckles, but just the green color suggests kryptonite to me. But again, I haven't read the comic, so I don't know if they're doing something similar. Which would be really interesting because if you've seen Batman the Animated Series, you know that in the last season, I think it was the third, I think it had 3 seasons, and so I believe it was in the 3rd season, there was a story, an episode, I should say, that has these kids that are telling different stories about Batman, and every story that's told kind of shows off a different era of Batman comics. So like there's somebody tells a story that looks like it's from the Dick Sprang era, and somebody then tells a story that looks like it's Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, and they literally do as much as they could on as much as would be allowed on television for a Saturday morning cartoon, a sequence from Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. So they technically did do this armor in the animated series. But anyway, let's get them out. Okay, so already off the bat, I can see Bruce has some gray hair here. So yeah, whatever. Ooh, and his neck just fell. Okay, I guess it's just meant to be like that. But he's got some gray hair, so clearly, yeah, they're doing some kind of variation of Dark Knight Returns because it's an older Bruce. And it's the Tim Bruce Wayne, not like a Frank Miller Bruce, not a Frank Miller style Bruce Wayne. Green Batarang, again, all that evokes to me kryptonite. lost. I don't know. I guess I really ought to read the comic book. Okay, so yeah, this gun definitely looks like the kind that Batman uses in Dark Knight Returns. Alright, now let's get him out. He's big. Wow. He's really big. He's also really loose. Because that could just be mine. I don't know. Maybe he was in the heat too long while it was being delivered. I don't know. But yeah, this is definitely Dark Knight Returns Batman. So I'm actually really curious to know. Oh, and then Batman famously in Dark Knight Returns, like he basically like hits Superman in the chin with like these like teethed boots. I remember that scene distinctly. This is really neat. I have a few versions of this Batman. There's one from the McFarlane series that is I think lifted from the movie Batman v Superman, which is also takes a lot of its inspiration from Dark Knight Returns. And then also I have from a previous toy line, I forget what it's called. I think I want to say it was called DC Universe, that they also did a version of the Dark Knight Returns Batman in this costume. So it's cool to have an animated series style version of this. I don't know that I would want to take off his head, to be honest. I'm not into swapping heads. And also, you know, in this scene, he's not like he wears the mask or helmet for the fight. I mean, it isn't until the end when he's dying that, or towards the end. I don't think it's quite when he's dying. I think it's almost at the end, right before I think it's actually right before he kicks him with the boots. That there's a part where Superman rips the helmet off. Yeah, so I like it with the helmet on. And also, it occurs to me that there's also an episode of Batman Beyond where he wears like an armored costume. It doesn't look anything like this. It's not the design isn't anything like this, but it's another super armor that Bruce wears. I'd be really curious to know now. Now I'm actually really curious to pick up the comic because I wonder what they're doing. In a way, I was kind of hope they're not doing the Batman versus Superman thing in the animated series because I don't see the Dark Knight Returns storyline fitting in the animated series continuity. But I don't know. Maybe they prove me wrong. Maybe I see it. I'm like, oh yeah, it works. So the other hands that he brings are for the gun. I'm assuming. See? Yep. So I think, as much as I like the fists, I think in the interest of not losing this gun, I think I'm going to swap this hand. And actually, oh wait, I know. This gap here in this hand, that's for the batarang. I see. Okay. Do they go, does it matter which one? I don't think it matters. I think they're they're the same on both sides. So okay, so if I don't want to lose the batarang, I guess I gotta swap this one too. Yeah, no, I'm okay. Oh, and then this goes here. You can do like a little. You can pretend he's Iron Man and do like a repulsor blast. Yeah, definitely not doing this hand. Yeah, no, you know what? I'm good. I think I'm just gonna swap this one, and that's it. Maybe not. He could barely, like, basically if I leave that there, he's either got it down or he's pointing it forward. There's no bending it much like that. He doesn't have a lot of flexibility there. Oh, I feel like this is wrong. Hang on. Maybe it's because this needs to. Aha, that's why. The arm was bent the wrong way. Well, he still doesn't have much flexibility there. He just doesn't have it. The armor is too clunky. But that's fine. Yeah, I think that I can do that. I can live with this. He looks really cool. Yeah. And the cape is like soft, unlike the Azrael one, which is like rubber. This one's more like a thick cloth. So it's, you get a little more movement out of it. You can articulate this way, so you can. Again, as is the style, his legs are kind of like thinner than the top part of his body, but that's just the Bruce Timm style.